know I'm not one to apologize for things I meant to do, but I do apologize to you, sir, because I didn't intend to hit him. I sell calls with my arms. I don't fall or to sell a call. I'm not a flopper. So I was just selling the call because he was grabbing me and pulling my hip back. So I spun away, and unfortunately, I hit him.
What's going on with him? I don't know. Personally, I feel like that brother needed help. I'm glad he not try to choke me, but at the same time, it had nothing to do with basketball, man. Like, I'm just out there trying to play basketball, they're swinging.
All right, let's bring in the one and only Brian Windhorst. Windy, top of the morning to you, afternoon for some folks. Windy, what's your reaction to this latest incident by Draymond Green?
Well, I can't believe he went and said what he said after the game. You didn't have in that clip, but he also said it was bad luck that he hit him. I mean, it was a completely wrong tact. Whatever the suspension is, I'd give another game just for the way he handled that post-game press conference. Now, look, if this was just any average player who had no history, it would be a flagrant 2 foul. The league would review it this morning. They would talk to the player. They would probably suspend that player a game, maybe 2, because it looked like there was a wind-up. We've already seen over the last 2 suspensions, which is just amazing to use that verbiage to talk about the history of suspensions just this calendar year. But in the previous 2 suspensions, Joe Dumars, who was the head of discipline in the NBA, has said on the record in the press release that those were treated more severely because of Draymond's history. So we know that there is a Draymond Green multiplier. So in a vacuum, if another player in this situation will be suspended 1 to 2 games, Draymond Green gets multiplied, and I think you're looking at 5 to 6 games. What I can't account for is what Stephen A. talked about in the last hour, which is if they want to go beyond the protocol and send a message. And that is half of this situation. Is the league going to send a message to Draymond, or is it going to follow the standard protocol that it would with the Draymond multiplier? And I know that that sounds crazy, but that is how they have operated over this last year, and so that is what I am looking at. They gave him 5 games and said it was worse because of his history on the Rudy Gobert thing. They gave him 1 game when it was borderline on whether he should have been suspended or not when he stepped on Sabonis, and said it was because of his past acts. So the question is, do they change that, or do they follow that along? And one more thing I want to say. There's 2 different things going on here. There is definitely what the suspension is going to be, what the punishment is, and all the fallout from that, and who thinks this and who thinks that. But what is also happening here is that he is crushing the Golden State Warriors. This is a vital season for them. They are spending, including luxury taxes, $400 million on this roster. It is the most expensive team in the history of American sport. They are holding on to trying to get one more title out of this group. They ejected Jordan Poole from this team basically because of his issues with Draymond to hold this thing together. You got Steve Kerr on the last year of his contract. You got Klay Thompson on the last year of his contract. The team is below 500. Steve Kerr had been moving towards something for weeks, and at halftime of this game last night, he decided to bench Kevon Looney and Andrew Wiggins and put Draymond at center because he wasn't getting what he needed. They're trying to beat the Suns in Phoenix without Kevin Durant. They need this game. That's why Draymond was guarding Yusuf Nurkic. And he gets ejected, and they end up falling apart down the stretch of this game because he's not in there. He ends up benching Klay Thompson at the end of this game as well. So they are absolutely trying to save this team. They're trying to keep their fingers in the dam on keeping this together. And I want to point out, they are 2-5 this year in the games that Draymond has either been suspended for or ejected from. That means that he's very important to them. And now he is facing some suspension again, undercutting what they're doing. The insult to this isn't just to the players that Draymond is affecting with this behavior. It's an insult to his own team, who is hugely invested in trying one last run to get another title for this group.
Amen. Couldn't have said it better myself, Wendy. There's no doubt about it. And I'll tell you something right now. Draymond's whole career is in jeopardy right now. We just got to get to that point where we're willing to highlight what's transpiring here. And I don't mean in terms of jeopardy as it pertains to getting thrown out the league. I don't think anything will be that extreme. But I do think we need to keep ourselves open to the possibility this could be his last season in Golden State. You might look at Joe Lacob and say, I've had enough of this. Because let me tell you something that I know, and everybody knows I know Mr. Lacob, even though I haven't spoken in a while with him. This man spends an awful lot of money, and he is a high-end competitor. He believes on getting his money's worth in anything he chooses to invest in, and when it does not happen, heads will roll. That's how this dude operates. I'm not going to call him, Doggy, George Steinbrenner-esque, but he's pretty damn close. He really, really is. He can get that way. And I'm telling you right now, he can't be happy with Draymond Green putting himself in positions to get suspended and missing games. But there's another component to all of this. Once upon a time when, Barkley, my brother continues to lie to the public about wanting to retire. One minute he's talking about retiring, and the next thing he's talking about how much he steals money doing this job every day with his lying self, but I love him to death. But when we talked about Charles Barkley ultimately one day walking away from this, you had people talking about Draymond being a successor. You don't hear that now. You hear people talking about Draymond having problems. Now, I'm uncomfortable with that. I don't like it. I'm usually inclined and prone to come to his defense. But when you put people in a position like Wendy and I in right now as individuals who cover this league, and we have to comment and speak on things of this nature where there is no defense for it. And particularly when you being as bright as you are warned consistently. Listen, we're going to take your past transgressions into consideration. He's been lamenting for the last couple of years how his past transgressions come into play when a decision is made or when commentary is given about him. That means you know. And then to go into a post-game conference, one time months ago, you ain't apologizing. Another time, you know what? It's just me, and Draymond's going to be Draymond. Last night, it was an accident. I assure you, this decision will be strongly manipulated by Adam Silver. It's that simple. And if Adam Silver wanted to go, I remind you, now this is one has nothing to do with the other, Wendy, before I go to Doggy. One has nothing to do with the other. Ja Morant and the trouble that he got in, okay? That is not the same as what transpired with Draymond on the court.
100%.
We get that.
Yep.
But the flip side to it is that Adam wanted to send a message, primarily because he felt lied to, because Ja Morant looked him in the face reportedly, told him one thing, and then went back and was a repeat offender of the transgression in question. Well, what are they going to say about Draymond? They're going to say, have we not talked to this guy? Have we not looked him in the face? Has he not looked us in the face? Did we not have these conversations? And I think they're going to bring down the hammer. I'm fearful now. I think 10 games is automatic. I would not be surprised if it's 15 to 20, Doggy.
100%. I agree with you there. I think it might be at least 10 and then beyond. We'll see. Listen, I think the one thing that folks who are close in the NBA have to think about with Draymond Green, Steve loves him. He knows him. Wendy covers him. Probably has had a lot of interaction with him. He's a smart guy. Izzo loves him, everything else. The average fan out there has had enough.
Yeah.
I think people have to understand that. And you want to consider me the average fan? Go ahead. Look at me. I'm the average fan. I watch a lot of the NBA. I followed it for 60 years. I love the NBA.
Well, you talk to the average fan every day.
I do. And they've had enough of Draymond Green. Really? I got to root for this guy again? This guy is up to this nonsense again? He has folks in the league who sort of think he's the greatest guy in the world. Basketball IQ is off the charts. He gets a little carried away, but boy, what a great guy he is. The average fan out there does not think that. The average fan out there thinks, I got to say it, I'm going to be honest, thinks Draymond's a clown. Hurts his team, always in trouble, maybe a little overrated. He's on a perfect team with his defense and his rebounding. The average fan, and that's the fan who sits there at the arenas and buys the tickets. The average fan doesn't have any sympathy for Draymond Green. And I think people at times in the NBA forget that. The average fan, it's a bad look for the NBA that this constantly happens with this guy time and time and time.
So what
again.
do you think the average fan wants?
I think
when it comes to Draymond.
How about 25 games?
You think the average
Whoa.
fan?
He's not going to get that.
You think the average fan believes that Draymond Green should be suspended as long as Ja Morant was suspended? I'm just asking.
Well, because it's the third and fourth time, and he just got suspended. Listen, that's probably a little strong. I think the average fan's fed up with Draymond. They don't want to root for him. They don't want to care about him. And I think that's a problem I think that's a bigger issue than the fact that he's suspended 10 games. He's a huge star. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He's won the 4 championships. And the NBA fan says, I could care less about Draymond Green. That's a problem.
Wendy, real quick, if he gets like a 10, 15 game, a really heavy suspension, you think he cleans it up?
No, he's not a sympathetic figure. He doesn't want to be a sympathetic figure. If the NBA operates like it has in the past, it'll be 5-ish games. It would be a change of protocol if they change from that, and I'm waiting to see what happens.
I think, Wendy, I think it's going to be a minimum of 10 games. I mean, listen,
Well,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't wish for anything negative, but I can't imagine they gave him 5 games for the last transgression, and it's going to be another 5 games.
Yeah,
now.
no.
I can't
No
see
shot.
that. I
No shot.
just
I agree.
can't see it.